Mr. A, would you read us out of closed session, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I move that the Roanoke County School Board come out of closed session for the following: to discuss ongoing personnel matters under investigation pursuant to the personnel exemption at 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, and to discuss the investigation of a student matter pursuant to the scholastic record exemption at 2.2-3711A2 of the Code of Virginia, and for consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members pertaining to actual or probable litigation, and consultation with legal counsel regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel pursuant to 2.2-3711A7 of the Code of Virginia. And further, I move to certify that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter, and only such business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed session was convened were heard, discussed, considered in the meeting by the school board.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am. Item 2.03, action from closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve students 2023, numbers 33 through 36 for religious exemption from Roanoke County Schools.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the school board find that the grievance in grievance number 2223, number 1, did not comply with the substantial procedural requirements of the procedure for adjusting grievances. Just cause for the grievance failure does not exist, and therefore the grievance are not entitled to proceed with the grievance, and the chair is authorized to send the grievance a letter detailing the rationale for the school board's decision.
Second that. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am. That is all we have for action from closed. Welcome, everybody. If I can have you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Item 4.01, announcement of changes in the agenda. Do you have anything? Item 4.02, approval of agenda with announced changes.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
A second. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am. Item 5, consent agenda, approval of items that we have previously discussed in work sessions and prior meetings.
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am. Item 6.01, PPEA unsolicited proposal, approval to receive proposal and solicit competing proposals. Mr. Todd Kegels. Welcome, Mr. Kegels.
Chairman Hudson, members of the board, we received an unsolicited proposal for the renovation of W.E. Cundiff and Glen Cove Elementary Schools and the construction of a new CTE center. Pursuant to policy 4.34, the board must vote to either accept the proposal for evaluation or reject the unsolicited proposal. Staff is recommending that we receive the unsolicited proposal and utilize the competitive negotiation process.
Mr. Chairman, I approve that action 6.01, the PPA unsolicited proposal as presented by staff.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Linden?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Ray?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greenway?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes, ma'am. Item 7.01, SRO update, Chief Mike Poindexter. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nicely. Here to update you on the SRO program for Roanoke County Schools. We have enjoyed a great partnership with the Sheriff's Department And this past year, we were able to provide coverage for the middle schools and the high schools. We also provided partial coverage for the elementary schools. For the upcoming school year, we look to continue that partnership. We will also provide coverage for Burton Technical Center, as well as elementary schools in Roanoke County. We currently have hired 5 of the 8 positions for the grant that we received from the Department of Criminal Justice Services. We look to fully continue recruitment and fill those positions before the school year begins. Do you have any questions?
I do, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And maybe this is a combination. Does that mean we have 13 of the 16 fully covered of the elementary?
For the elementary schools, I can speak for the police department. We cover 8, and the sheriff's office covers 8 as well. We look to cover
we
our
cover-
8 positions, yes.
Oh, okay. Good deal. Thank you.
That was my question. So, I think you answered it. So
Thank you.
just as long as we're fully covered at all our schools, and that's what we have tried for a long time, and we want to be there. So
And we want to accomplish that.
thank you, Chief.
All right.
Chief?
Good to see you.
The grant funding is for how many years? Is that what, year-by-year basis?
The initial grant we received was a 4-year grant, and this is the 2nd year of the grant.
So we can count on that for at least another 3 years.
2 more
Two-
years,
two.
and we have received notification of a 2nd grant, but we haven't received all the details yet.
Wonderful. Appreciate
never
your
wanna-
efforts, and I know
We
it
won't
wasn't
run out of
easy.
money for safety.
That's right.
Thank you, Chief, and I appreciate the hard work that you and your staff have done, and it's been a great partnership.
Thank you. You all have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Item 7.02, policy updates. Dr. Rhonda Stegall.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Nicely. Several times a year, staff conducts a review of current policies and administrative regulations and recommends changes based on various factors, including improving clarity of language, change in practice, change in state code, and recommendations from staff. For each recommendation that you have in the folder that's been uploaded, one, you have a summary sheet. The second one, you have an edited version of every policy, and then you have a final version of every policy. As you review those policies, please don't hesitate to call and ask if you have any questions on any of those that are in your folder for review. Any questions right now?
Mr. Ray?
One question, just the understanding that once we have this, the information, and then next meeting, we'll see if there's any other comments, and then we'll accept them as presented, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Stegall. I believe you're up next with 7.03, long-term rental agreement.
Yes, Sovereign Grace Community Church is requesting long-term rental agreement with Northside Middle School beginning July 1st of this year and until June 30th of '24. They are requesting a 60-day notice of withdrawal. The current policy requires a 60-day notice of withdrawal, so they were asking for that exception, but you also must approve long-term agreements. We have not had long-term agreements until before COVID. And they have been renting month to month, and they have been very good partners with us. And so they are now asking to conduct a long-term agreement, but want to change it to a 60-day withdrawal agreement if you're agreeable to that.
Questions on that? Mr. Ray?
Just one quick question, and they still maintain the cleaning and taking down anything that they put up, and everything stays the same, correct?
They do, and they've been renting the facility for several months now, and so they pay utilities, they pay rental fees, and they also pay for custodial crew that comes in and cleans. So all of that is taken care of through their fees.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
So they're
Chairman.
asking for a waiver on the 60-day?
Yeah, we require 90, they would like 60. They are currently looking for a full-time facility for their church, and they just have been unable to acquire that. So they want to continue renting our facility, and we have encouraged them to move forward with a long-term agreement.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
That's it. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Stegall. All right. 8.01, hearing of citizens and delegations. So I believe we have quite a few speakers tonight, so we're going to have to be pretty conscientious of the time. Everyone gets 3 minutes. I'm going to read off some rules here. During this portion of the meeting, citizens, including students, parents, employees, and Roanoke County citizens, are invited to address the board on matters of public concern and exercise of their First Amendment rights. We do ask speakers to be respectful and civil in their comments and address the board chair rather than individual board members. Speakers have 3 minutes to make their comments and will be signaled by the lights on the podium. There's a green, yellow, and a red. Please be aware that board members listen to comments but do not respond. First up is Decca Knight.
Hello, members of the board, Dr. Nicely. My name is Decca Knight, and I am a Roanoke County resident. I also work as a licensed professional counselor and trauma specialist here in the Valley. As a mental health professional, I'm very concerned about the events that have transpired at Glen Cove Elementary and throughout the district over the past school year. I have recently become aware that the events that happened at Glen Cove are just part of a larger movement to restrict any LGBTQ+ discussions and awareness throughout the division. It is my understanding that educators throughout the Valley have been asked to remove rainbow items from their classrooms, even at the secondary level. I would like to share with you some information about the importance of supporting LGBTQ+ youth. The Trevor Project found that LGBTQ+ youth are 4 times as likely to attempt suicide as their peers. In fact, having one accepting adult can lower the risk of suicide by 40%. LGBTQ+ youth are also more likely than non-LGBTQ+ youth to experience violence at school and have lower levels of school connectedness. According to a study conducted by the Williams Institute at UCLA Law, 40% of homeless youth are LGBTQ+. Of those 40%, 46% ran away because of family rejection, 43% were forced out by parents, and 32% face physical, emotional, and sexual abuse at home. If a youth does not have support at home, they need to know who they can go to within their school for safety and support. Taking away that support would be extremely detrimental to the safety of our youth in the county. We have therefore started a petition supporting LGBTQ+ youth and educators in our system. To date, the petition has 2,350 signatures of Roanoke County residents. The petition reads as follows. We write to you as concerned parents and community members regarding the targeting of Glen Cove Elementary School staff and the LGBTQ+ community. We must unite as a community to support our students, staff, and schools to create a safe, inclusive, and respectful learning environment for all. We ask that county leadership support our students and staff in the LGBTQ+ community by not allowing hate to grow. It is vital to foster understanding, respect, and acceptance for all individuals, regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. We must unite to create an inclusive and accepting environment that promotes equity, free from discrimination and hate. We also ask that you protect staff from unwarranted attacks on their character. The false allegations of staff members being sexual predators are baseless and damaging to their professional and personal lives. No individual should have a target on their back due to unfounded claims, and county leadership must take responsibility to protect our educators from harassment and harm. We also would like to create equitable policies for educators' personal expression that does not single out LGBTQ+ educators and allies. For instance, educators that identify as Christians are allowed to wear crosses and shirts that identify their religious preferences. These personal expressions may make students of other religions uncomfortable, yet they are allowed to persist. Why is one community being targeted over another? We must respect diversity and the rights of all individuals to express their beliefs safely and respectfully. As parents and community members, we believe that all students and staff can thrive in a safe, nurturing, and inclusive environment. Together, let us work towards creating a respectful and inclusive educational environment where all students and staff can thrive. Thank you for your time and attention.
Ashley Hendricks.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Hendricks. I use they, them pronouns. I am a product of Roanoke County Schools, and I'm also a biology teacher at Northside High School. I'm here to speak to the school board about what has been happening in our community. First, I would like to offer my full support to the teachers and staff of Glen Cove Elementary and to all the members of the LGBTQ+ in our community, whether they be students, parents, or staff. As a proud member of the LGBT community, I am appalled and disgusted by the slander and remarks that have been said against our community and allies. I am also appalled by the silence of the school board who claims to be in support of all students and staff in Roanoke County. Your silence on these disgusting claims against our staff and members and allies of our community shows that you do not support all your staff and all of your students. We are not predators. We are not child groomers. We are none of the disgusting remarks that have been thrown our way these past few weeks. We, however, are parents, students, teachers, staff, family members, etc. We are human beings who breathe the same air and bleed the same color. And personally, I am a teacher whose first job in this classroom is to make sure that any student who walks through my door is safe, respected, supported, and loved. I am not just there to teach my students biology. I am there to teach them how to be kind and supportive, not only to themselves, but to others. I am there to teach my students how to be successful when they leave Roanoke County schools and to help them have the best chance of success no matter what they decide to do in their lives. I speak from personal experience when I tell you that I would not be standing here today if it were not for the wonderful staff who supported me through my journey of finding myself. I would have been dead at 16. So I ask you this, why am I and many others standing here today telling you all of this, and none of you have spoken out publicly in defense of your students and your staff? I would like to close my time with this. I am in full support of any efforts to recall this board and hold special elections to replace any board member as the community sees fit. I hope all parents and staff who have suffered from the disgusting remarks thrown at them sue this district until there is some real change in our county. We have been watching and waiting as problem after problem is swept under the rug, and we are done. We demand real change and real action if we want our students to be opportunity ready. Thank you.
Sarah Glick.
Members of the board, I'm a Roanoke citizen. Thank you for your time this evening to hear us express and voice our concerns. I, among many others, are very concerned about what has been happening recently here at Glen Cove. And I just have a brief statement. I would like to say that queer educators deserve to be here. We deserve to take up space. We are not going anywhere, clearly, as you can see from the support of staff, friends, and citizens behind me. Children will express themselves, and one advice and a listening ear, no matter what rules you impose on them or take away. It is their given right. And I invite you to think of your young self for just a moment. Think of a time you might have felt unseen, perhaps even bullied. Maybe you were struggling in school. Maybe you didn't fit in. Let alone think of those that are struggling to come out or otherwise as non-binary or trans. Some of these children might not have anywhere else to turn to. They might not have a trusted friend or pastor or family member to talk to. They might just have somebody at school. That can be a welcoming, safe space for them. We're not here to shove anything down anybody's throats. I've worked with children for over 20 years, and I just want to say that they just want someone to listen to them. They want to be heard. They want to express themselves. That is what this is. Thank you for your consideration and time.
Jordan Williams.
My name is Jordan Williams. I am a North Roanoke County resident. I am a Roanoke County Schools graduate. I am licensed to teach elementary school in the state of Virginia, and I am a member of the LGBTQ community. My wife and I have long-term plans to foster and adopt children and teens who would not otherwise have a home or a family, and our future children will attend Roanoke County schools. I'm here to ask the Roanoke County School Board to incorporate the principles of safety, diversity, and inclusion in their policies and hold Roanoke County Public Schools accountable to anti-discrimination laws and policies. In my third grade classroom this past year, I displayed a poster that read, "Everyone is welcome, everyone belongs." This poster was not a political propaganda. It was a visual reminder to my students that I am creating a safe and welcoming environment for them to learn, grow, and most importantly, be themselves. All teachers, staff, and students deserve a safe, welcoming, diverse, and inclusive school system. It is important to remember that not all students come from a traditional nuclear family. Children will come to school from families that look different in many ways. Some will come from families that look like mine and my wife's. Fostering diverse and inclusive schools for students will allow children to understand how to respect students with families that might look different from their own. Additionally, students should be continually encouraged in their own identities, their innate values, and self-expression. Inclusive messages and symbols worn and displayed by staff are not predatory. Conversely, I believe it is necessary because there are children and teens that will go to bed tonight feeling alone, thinking that they are better off dead than being themselves. A 2022 national survey on LGBTQ+ youth mental health provided by the Trevor Project found that 45% of LGBTQ+ youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year. The same survey showed that LGBTQ youth who found their school to be LGBTQ affirming reported lower rates of attempting suicide. Educators are not trying to make kids queer or force ideologies. We are simply trying to keep them alive. I truly believe that everyone in this room wants teachers to create classrooms that are full of respect, acceptance, safety, and love without condition. Establishing this type of environment is necessary for effective learning. Personally held beliefs, whether rooted in a person's own set of moral guidelines or religious principles, cannot take precedence over equality and inclusion for all. The existence, visibility, and allyship of the LGBTQ+ community is not an attack on the beliefs of others, so please do not let the beliefs of others pose an attack on our existence. Thank you.
Marissa, and I cannot read the last name, maybe a Y? Yee, okay, thank you. Welcome.
My name is Marissa Yee, and I'm the parent to a rising 8th grader in the Roanoke County School System. I've known from elementary age that I liked girls and I like boys, but growing up essentially in the closet in the 80s and the 90s, when I was outed to my mother, I was beaten and then kicked out. I don't want youth today to go through what I did, or worse, because 45% of youth consider killing themselves each year because they don't have the support to be who they simply are. Countless end up homeless, raped, and murdered. It is essential to let queer youth not just be comfortable being who they are, but know they have safe support to turn to. And when slanderous accusations are thrown around out of hate for queers and allies over love of rainbows, we damage reputations and lose good teachers. We lose that safe support system, and the Roanoke County school system needs to stand with their teachers against slander, hate, and discrimination. Thank you.
Lucy Harbert.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Harbert, and I'm speaking tonight as a parent of 2 children in the district. I feel fortunate to have interacted with so many teachers and staff who are professionals of kindness and integrity. I would like to respond to a large-scale bullying incident in our district. Bullying, as defined by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, is characterized by unwanted, aggressive behavior and involves a real or perceived power imbalance. The behavior is repeated, or it has the potential to be repeated. Furthermore, the HHS presents data to indicate that the LGBTQ community is at significantly increased risk of bullying. False allegations were made against specific teachers at the last school board meeting. These teachers were targeted for their support of the LGBTQ community. The behavior was clearly unwanted by the teachers, whose characters were defamed, and it was absolutely aggressive. Targeting a high-risk population makes the power imbalance obvious, and without being firmly quelled, the bullying is already being repeated. I'm upset that the teachers were bullied, and I'm further worried about students that now feel less safe. So why? Not that bullying is ever okay, but why bring this up a month before school ended? It's not like teachers redecorate in May when they are wearing themselves thin, getting kids through SOLs while still providing emotional support. so the attack seemed petty to me. There's a saying in education, Maslow before Bloom. Basically, you cannot teach content until you meet human needs. In addition to food and shelter, we all deserve safety, kindness, and the assurance that someone cares about us. These are some of the most important gifts that teachers give to our students, all of our students. So what happened to the Glen Cove students when their teachers were suddenly forced to step back? Teachers spend months and years building rapport and trust with students, which keeps kids from falling through the cracks. It may not immediately be visible to an outside observer, but hurting teachers also hurts kids. And that is why I'm standing here today. The thing is, our feelings on this should not be divided along political lines. Even in our fairly conservative community, there's a sense of, wait, is this for real? The good news is, though, we can combat bullying. Here's how. We call it what it is. We condemn the behavior. We create and foster safe spaces even if they don't benefit us personally. We defend those safe spaces even when someone walks into a school board meeting and tries to verbally tear them apart. We work together as a community and give one another grace. There is no need to drag our teachers into a political fray. We should be wary of anyone who doesn't decry bullying. We are all on the same team, whether we want to be or not. If it doesn't support our kids and teachers, we must all pause and ask ourselves, how can we work together to do better? Thank you for your time.
Luke Pretty.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dr. Nicely. My name is Luke Pretty, and I attended Roanoke County Public Schools. Went to Cave Spring Elementary School, Hidden Valley Middle School, and Hidden Valley High School, where I graduated. And actually, Drs. Nicely and Stegall were two of my principals during that time. I'm here speaking tonight because I'm concerned about the actions that I'm seeing from this administration regarding the removal and prohibition of rainbows in the classroom. You know, those are symbols that those who are so concerned with removing them from the classroom, I think are inappropriately sexualizing a symbol that really only represents love, unity, and acceptance. I think that their presentation in a classroom lets someone know that that's where they can exist, and it's where they're allowed to be. You know, I'm concerned more so about what I'm seeing in other neighboring school systems and districts and actions that are being taken, either similar to removal or more so further away in Botetourt and Bedford. These are actions that marginalize, silence, and seek to eradicate members of the LGBTQ community. So when I decided I was going to come here tonight, I made a conscious decision during Pride Month to be subtle in how I display my pride, in hopes that it would make you more willing and able to hear and listen to what my message is, because I understand you all are all in a position of public service, and it is very difficult. And sometimes how the message is said makes it difficult to hear. It makes it hard to hear those other perspectives and to consider things. But as you're considering future policies, it's just important to me that hopefully you will take steps that allows these symbols to be reintroduced into their classrooms. That you think with an open mind about the impact that it will have on students. You know, one thing I did want to bring, which is required to be taught into schools, and it is a rainbow of sorts. Anybody who knows me knows I talk about this too much. It's character education. It's the 6 pillars of character, and I consider them the 6 pillars of public service. Trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. That's why I aim to speak to you tonight with civility, to do so with an even mind, to make sure that you all have an ability to hear what's being said from the people here tonight, be conscious of the policy decisions that you are making and the impact that it will have on people's lives, because there are children who are at home who are watching this. And regardless of removing these symbols from the classroom, they need to understand that in word and otherwise, that they are accepted and they are loved for who they are. Thank Thank you for your time.
Brian Handy.
Good evening. I'm Brian Handy and I live in Hollins. At a middle school in the county, teachers and staff who speak up get labeled as quackers. The administration will walk around with shirts with rubber ducks on them, and the red slash, say don't quack. And you might even find a duck on your desk. Speak up too much. But I think there are some things that need to be quacked about. The roof at one elementary school has leaked for over a year. I asked for an update on it, still haven't received one. I can't imagine the amount of mold that must be above those ceiling tiles at this point. There are 4 classrooms in the basement at another elementary school that can't be used due to ventilation and mold issues. Teachers report issues across the county: roaches, ants, termite, infestations of mouse. A teacher actually got bit by a mouse in their classroom. If we can't get basic issues around safety, cleanliness, ventilation, and the overall soundness of the buildings taken care of, why are we spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on fake grass for football fields? What does it say about our priorities when ball fields are more important than leaking roofs and rodent infestations? Kids across the county are forced to take summer school classes if they choose to attend Burton. One student at Northside that I know is having to take 3 classes over the summer at a cost of $1,250. 2 of the schools that feed Northside are Title I. 40% of the kids attending those elementary schools live at or below the poverty line. $1,200 is a big ask for any family in what's supposed to be their free public education. We can't allow money to be a hurdle to going to Burton because they have to take classes over the summer. Many kids are also forced to choose between advanced classes or fine arts such as band and chorus when they return to their home school. We need to take a hard look at scheduling practices across the county and figure out a system that allows kids to attend Burton Gov School and get the classes they need when they get to their home campus. A kid who works hard shouldn't have to choose between the instrument they've learned how to play or the advanced classes because they want to go to Burton as well. Across the county, teachers are facing challenges like never before. Many are leaving the county and teaching altogether, and honestly, I can't blame them. Policies such as the no quacking policy and other unwritten policies that can be selectively enforced both in scope and who it is applied to are driving teachers away from the profession they care deeply about. Despite the belief of some board members that schools weren't built for teachers, it's going to be really hard to run them without them. If the board collectively continues to treat teachers as children instead of the professionals that they are and allow parents to slander them in public without a single one of you putting a stop to it, we're going to continue to see those resignations. I've said this to you all several times before. Sign up to substitute. Go see what's actually going on in these classes. The behavior of the students.
Mr. Handy, you're reaching your time limit. You're about 10 seconds over.
The roaches, the leaks in the ceiling. Talk to them, not just the administration in the office. Let's stop chasing ducks or whatever the unicorn issue that comes up next and actually get some things done.
Mary Vi.
Good evening, Chairman, Roanoke County Public School Board members, Roanoke County Public School administrators, and other interested parties. My name is Mary Beth Vi. I'm a resident of Roanoke County's Windsor Hills School District, a retired Roanoke County public school teacher after over 39 years of service, and a grandmother of 2 Roanoke County public school students and a third joining them this fall. I'm here to educate those of you who have ears to hear on several matters pertaining to May's Roanoke County Public School Board meeting. First, the Roanoke County Public School Board is here to do business for a public school system. These are not religious or private schools. These schools exist to help all our children become responsible, respectful, educated citizens who can operate within the law, not just those who agree with the school board's philosophy, religion, or point of view of how society should be. This brings me to my second point. At last month's meeting, you allowed an individual to speak over the allotted time of 3 minutes. I think it is because of who you, the board, are. You were giving him a stage to say what you should not have said or you should not say. You need to return to kindergarten to learn that 3 does not equal 4.5, and that rules are made for a reason and are to be obeyed. You broke your own policy, which brings me to point 3. You are complicit with last month's speaker in his slander of the Roanoke County school employees as sexual predators. At no time have I heard any of the school board members or school administrators speak out against this inaccurate, illegal, slanderous characterization of caring, dedicated, talented teachers. As a Roanoke County public school retiree, I find this disgraceful and totally embarrassing. Point 4, Roanoke County Public Schools has an anti-bullying policy, which was stated earlier, so I will not repeat that. The school board and administration are guilty of bullying the Glen Cove teachers named by last month's speaker. You should be punished for this, as one would expect students who bully to be punished. In conclusion, 1, these are public schools. If you do not support the idea of a public school system, it's time to resign. 2, 3 does not equal 4.5. Obey your policies. 3, slander is illegal. It should not be allowed in this venue, and if it occurs, you should stop it immediately, or you are complicit and should be held accountable. 4, Roanoke County Public Schools has an anti-bullying policy. If you expect the students to follow it, so should the board and administration. Thank you.
Michelle Brooks.
Okay, that's a really hard act to follow. Okay. One of the reasons why I left a local school district to come to Roanoke County is because of how Roanoke County supported its students and teachers. Last month's board meeting made me question that decision. The board allowed a citizen to slander and spew vile accusations, including calling hardworking teachers, a counselor, a psychologist, an assistant principal, groomers, and sexual predators disguised as teachers. At no time did the board nor the superintendent try to redirect or stop the citizens' remarks. And I've seen you guys do it before. Also, the speaker was allowed to speak 1.5 minutes past the allotted time. This can be seen as an agreement with his words. Not once did any board member say these thoughts were untrue and do not reflect employees of RCPS. At a time when qualified teachers are now needed more than ever and harder to get in the classroom, not standing up for your employees in a situation like this will only make it harder to recruit new teachers. On Friday, May 19th, I met up with fellow RCPS teachers. Some have left the district. When I spoke to one teacher, he said he knew he was making the right decision to leave when the board remained silent at the horrible accusations made by the citizen. Most likely, the person who will be hired as his replacement will be on a provisional license with no experience in the classroom. That is happening more and more across the district and state as the experienced teachers are fleeing teaching at this time or transferring to districts with better pay, benefits, and will be sure to treat their employees with dignity and respect. We teach our students to treat others with respect. Shouldn't we also demand speakers not make vile accusations during board meetings? All we want as educators is to know that the board and administrators will back us when citizens make horrible, untrue accusations against us. That would be treating us with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Samantha Newell.
Hi, my name is Samantha Newell, parent of a Roanoke County student. More specifically, I'm a parent of a Glen Cove Elementary student. I'm also a product of Roanoke County Public Schools. I'd like to start similarly to those that spoke at your most recent school board meeting. I do care if someone is LGBTQ+. I have friends and business partners that identify as LGBTQ+, and handfuls of them are actually here with us today. I'm here today to discuss the hateful and damaging words that you allowed to be spoken during the May 18th school board meeting. These objections were based in fear and intolerance, and were spoken as if this is how a, quote, silent majority of parents feel. I'm here to make it abundantly clear that this is not the case, and they do not speak for me. I want my child to spend her time in environments of acceptance, respect, diversity, and unconditional love. Our country will never get less diverse. We must learn to respect and appreciate the beauty of all the diversity that we have the privilege of experiencing. The presence of affirming items such as rainbows or welcome signs is not at all about altering our children. It's about providing a safe environment for our children to ask questions. The platform your guest speakers stood on during the May 18th meeting were firmly rooted in bullying, discrimination, and inequality, a platform that you allowed. The results of allowing these damaging accusations have been alarming. Not one person stood up to promote the safety or support of our teachers during this interaction, and as a result, hundreds of students have lost the warmth and safety of what may have been their only source of unconditional support. According to a 2022 national survey, 45% of LGBTQ+ youth seriously considered suicide in the past year. However, LGBTQ youth who found their schools to be LGBTQ affirming reported significantly lower rates of attempting suicide. Children without safe, affirming, and accepting spaces are dying. And the slander that was permitted in the previous school board meeting stripped multiple children of these spaces. I am here today to stand firmly for those that were left to feel unsupported to the point of resignation. I'm here today to stand for the children that lost warmth of numerous incredible educators. I'm here today, and I will continue to be here until Roanoke County Public Schools are safe and welcoming for all. Thank you.
Kimberly Irving.
Good evening. I'm speaking tonight, as are many, in response to the public comments made in last month's meeting. As a former GCES parent, I was heartbroken by the accusations made against several staff members, some of whom are my children's favorite teachers. Quite frankly, the way in which this was presented and handled was both uncalled for and unprofessional. I will not accept the narrative that this was the woke leftist media who has spun what happened last month in a negative light. While I was not physically present for the meeting, I watched some of it live and rewatched what I missed as soon as possible. I saw it with my own eyes, and the only way I know how to describe what was presented is as ugly. We hear and read a lot about parent choice within the schools. The current narrative of some is that we don't have any choice as parents when it comes to our children's teachings, but that is simply untrue. As a parent of 2 children, it was mine and my husband's choice to teach them of various family structures and gender identity. It is our choice to allow them to read books or watch television that invoke questions to which we openly answer. As they get older, their questions and our answers grow with them to ensure that they can understand these complex items in a way that still allows them to be children. I want to make it very clear that my children have not ever been indoctrinated by any RCPS staff. All these concerns about what children should be taught at home, I can assure you those lessons were and will continue to be taught in my home. We have happily and dutifully taught our children that differences make our world a much more beautiful place, that love is love, and that God's word says to love thy neighbor above all else. If love weren't so important to God, then why would it be mentioned over 365 times in the Bible? These lessons of acceptance and kindness have been reinforced by our church, and I would hope that they would also be reinforced by our schools. Another narrative that we find constantly discussed is our constitutional rights as citizens. It was said that the remarks made last month, as opinion by the presenter, were within that person's First Amendment right. But what about the rights of the accused? Where is their right to wear rainbows and hang pictures drawn or colored for them by their own students in their own classroom? Where is the equity when only a few RCPS staff were singled out for attire that is not mentioned in any policy adopted by the schools? This past year, due to public comment, RCPS has found itself and its policies under scrutiny within public eye. This past year, several members of our community, both children and adults, have been attacked and accused in this very room, in this very forum. This past year, the safety of these persons has been placed at great risk as their identities have been easily discoverable based on the descriptions given, and the accusations brought against them have been severe. I am requesting that we adopt a new policy, not one that controls our staff's bodies and attire, not one that undermines our current policies on student identities, rather one that protects all of our community members and employs the golden rule. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Currently, there is a policy that does not allow for the public to address specific members of the board directly in order to protect these persons and ensure decorum. Should we not extend this courtesy to those people whom you represent? I am requesting that we no longer be able to identify any member of our community, whether by name, profession, or any other
Ms. Irvin, you're
descriptor.
at 3 minutes and 10 seconds.
This will still allow for concerns of the community to be presented here, but in a way that protects them as people who you represent. Thank you.
Hadley Newell.
Hi, I'm Hadley Newell and a student at Glen Cove Elementary. My concern is that teachers and staff feel unsupported and unappreciated in the environment of the school, which I believe is unfair, considering how much time, money, and effort they put in to make everybody at this school feel comfortable. But those that spoke at the last meeting made staff members feel unsupported, and a few of them quit, including the PE teacher, assistant principal, and music teacher, along with a few others. These people who have left Glen Cove were not only a safe space to the LGBTQ+ community, but also to the others, such as myself. I feel that those that spoke at the last meeting were upset because they feel that the teachers wanted to make their kids at Glen Cove LGBTQ+. But as a female with a male partner, me and my friends feel that nothing has changed except that fact that we should support them more. Thank you for your time.
Winter Schosberger.
Hello again. Roanoke County Public Schools does not knowingly employ groomers, predators, or child abusers. The silence from this board regarding those accusations at last month's meeting was shameful. There is space in Roanoke County Public Schools for every student. Holding space for one does not take away space for another. You have an opportunity here to lead the community through the process of holding space for all of our students, family, and staff. A year ago, I spoke in opposition to the proposed media policy. It was my opinion then, and is now, that if you as a parent want to restrict your students' access to certain books, then it should be your responsibility as a parent to talk to the school librarian and utilize the opt-out option. The response I received from this board was that parents maybe don't have the time or knowledge to do that. With all due respect, making time and figuring out what you don't already know is a fundamental responsibility of parenting. Public school cannot be a place where we allow parents to evade the obligation of their responsibilities while demanding the observation of their rights. It is the right of parents to teach their children about their beliefs and values. It is the responsibility of parents to talk to their child about those beliefs and values, how others may believe differently, and what they expect their child to do in those situations. It is not a right of parents to hold everyone else in a public setting responsible for ensuring that the child doesn't come into contact with any other beliefs and values. Having a book about a transgender child in a library doesn't mean your child has to read it. It doesn't mean that the school's teaching your child about the topic or encouraging certain feelings about the topic. It means that for students who are interested in the topic, they have access to it unless their parent decides otherwise. Having the Bible in the library doesn't mean your child has to read it. It doesn't mean that the school's teaching your child about the topic or encouraging certain feelings about the topic. It means that for students who are interested in the topic, they have access to it unless their parent decides otherwise. Wearing a pride flag pin doesn't mean that your child's teacher is trying to indoctrinate them. Wearing a cross necklace doesn't mean that your child's teacher is trying to indoctrinate them. We have long-standing issues in our schools like unmet student needs and unmet teacher needs, resulting in a significant number of experienced teachers choosing to leave. You, as a board, are the authority charged with resolving those issues. Public education is for everyone, and the way you approach any issues brought to you needs to be transparent, equitable, and innovative. Roanoke County Public Schools needs strong, unifying leadership from this board now more than ever. How you choose to act on concerns from parents or staff, how you choose to forge the path forward, and how you choose who you're holding space for won't go unseen.
Stephen Mikulek.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Mikulek, and I have taught for 9 years, the past 5 at Glen Cove, where I plan to teach next year. I reside in the Cave Spring District. I'm here to remind the school board that they need to uphold the Code of Virginia as supported by VDOE policy regardless of personal political views. In light of the previous public comments at the school board meeting, I will highlight some specific performance standards that are an everyday part of our teaching. Each year, teachers are evaluated using performance standards that were approved by the General Assembly, Governor, and VDOE, published on June 21st, 2021. These performance standards can be found on the VDOE website. There are 7 standards, and each can have up to 12 examples or look-fors, so I can only read a few. Standard 5, learning environment. Promotes respectful interactions and understanding of students' diversity, such as language, culture, race, gender, and special needs. Actively listens and makes accommodations for all students' needs, including social, emotional, behavioral, and intellectual. Standard 6, culturally responsive teaching and equitable practices. Utilizes inclusive curriculum and instructional resources that represent and validate diversity from all rings of culture that include generational, gender, religion, class, nationality, race, ethnicity, native language, ability, and sexuality by connecting classroom curriculum and instruction to the cultural examples, experiences, backgrounds, and traditions of all learners. Teaches students the skills necessary to communicate and engage with diverse groups in ways that support the eradication of discrimination and bias while mitigating against classroom power imbalances based on race, ethnicity, gender, identity, ability, and/or socioeconomic status that perpetuate fear and anxiety of difference. I have sat with many administrators and central office staff in multiple districts to receive feedback of how I'm upholding these standards as a teacher. I know many educators at Glen Cove and myself have and will continue to follow them. Recently, however, administration and the school board have shown they are not supporting some teachers in upholding these standards. These standards are part of the Code of Virginia, which is law, and have been voted on and approved by the General Assembly, Governor, and VDOE. And it is your job to support teachers in upholding them. I am disappointed in the silence of the school board and administration when hateful words are said about teachers, and I come here today to remind the school board of their duty to support all teachers. Without support from you or administration, we cannot do our jobs, which is to teach all students. Thank you.
Janine Evans.
Good evening, school board, chair, and administrators for Roanoke County Schools. My name is Dr. Janine Evans. I am an academic professor in the School of Social Work and a tenured professor, and I'm also an LCSW, and I own a group private practice in Roanoke, Virginia. My children were educated in Roanoke County schools, in which my son entered Roanoke County schools 30 years ago, followed by my daughter, and perhaps soon to be a grandson. And I am frightened. I came to Virginia in 1982 as a college student at Roanoke College, and I heard about the history of Virginia, and I was told by peers and friends in the New York and New Jersey area, why would you enter into Virginia knowing the history? What we now know is that that history may not be learned because of the ban on books and content to override the history of what has happened in the state of Virginia. 67 years ago, Roanoke County needs to learn lessons from what happened in Virginia during the massive resistance era, in which schools were closed because of hate. And I hope our children will learn and understand that. When we reflect on the Virginia Department of Education's mission, it says to support and improve teaching and learning, to set high expectations for all students, not just a few. When you reflect on the Roanoke County Strategic Plan, in which the former speaker spoke about, there are statements about honoring, respecting, and teaching and valuing all students as they sit into our classrooms. Well, as we know, that is not happening, because we are picking and choosing a few students who are we giving privilege and equity to. The mental health of all our children are impacted when they are taught to hate, to discriminate, and to not be equitable for all children who they're in school with. The mental health of all children, we are looking at 86% of all children, not just LGBTQ students, not just African American students, not just minoritized students, but all students is impacted. I see them in my office every day. Anxiety, depression, children on medication, which we should never be medicating our children at the levels that we are. But why? Because as adults, we are teaching our children to hate, which is causing anxiety and depression in our children. And that's all children, the children, your children that go to school. So I am challenging each of you as a board to really look at what is happening, not only in our backyard here in Roanoke County, but across our country, and understand how that is impacting your children.
Dr. Evans, you're at 3 minutes.
Your
and 13
grandchildren.
seconds.
Thank you very much. The only type of indoctrination that is happening in Roanoke County right now is the indoctrination of hate. Thank you.
John Hutchins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, esteemed board members. My name is John Hutchins. My wife and I live with our children in the Back Creek community. And I'm speaking here tonight because I too believe right is right, wrong is wrong. Defaming others with vile, baseless accusations is wrong. Inviting that defamation and allowing it to sit unchallenged is wrong. Shunning children and treating them with cruelty at their most vulnerable moments is wrong. Showing children kindness and mercy is right. We parents live and our children attend public schools in a community. If a parent wants to withdraw their family from that society, that's their right, but the public schools can't accommodate that decision. If a parent looks at a rainbow-striped lanyard or a sign saying, "Everyone welcome," and sees an emblem of child predation instead of one of tolerance, maybe an open society isn't for them, and they can shelter their children from having to encounter any viewpoint different from that of their parents. Everyone loves alliteration, but school's a place for learning more than just reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's a place for studying music and civics and history. Part of that history is the ridicule and oppression of those who were different in some way from the people who happened to be in power. And it is the place of school staff to be awake to the fact that for some students, school is a refuge, And for some, a small gesture of acceptance can make a world of difference. And having the ability to talk freely with a trusted and understanding teacher can assure a student that they're respected and cared for. It can be literally life-saving. We put school teachers in a position of trust, and I beg the school board to trust the teachers they've hired. Those teachers take the job because they care about our children and want them to learn and grow and flourish in a supportive environment. But how could you expect someone to take a job where, out of an innocuous act of compassion, they would face the most scurrilous attacks imaginable? Many toss around the words freedom and liberty so much that they've almost lost meaning. But real liberty is students and teachers exercising their constitutional right to free speech and expression. The same right that does, you surely know, protect their wearing religious emblems without fear of being tarred as a child abuser. Mr. Chairman, parents and the other voters of Roanoke County are watching us, but so is the rest of the Commonwealth, and so are others. You don't have to travel very far from here to see how a school system can be ravaged when the county's school board and board of supervisors are taken over by ideologues focused on political grandstanding instead of students' education. Choices of that sort will drive away good teachers, will drive away students and their families, and will drive away employers. For my children's sake, I hope we won't follow that path.
Cindy Lawler.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Lawler. I live in Roanoke with my wife, Greta. We've been together for 37 years. We have 2 adult nieces who live here, whose young children attend schools in Roanoke County. I love my 2 grandnieces and 2 grandnephews very much, and they love me. They love me the way young children so beautifully do, without preconceptions about whether I am worthy of their love. I'm heartbroken that in Roanoke County schools today, they are at risk of having that love corrupted into feelings of shame and pity, if not outright revulsion. Years ago, when one of our nieces, her name is Lindsay, was about 4 years old, she looked at my wife and asked, "Greta, what is Cindy to you?" We looked at each other with dread. Dread. Isn't that awful? Dread at a perfectly reasonable question from someone whose love and respect we very much hope to cultivate all through her growing up. Instinctively, Greta asked Lindsay who her best friend was. Lindsay answered, and Greta said, "Well, Cindy is my very best friend in the whole world, and we love each other very much." Now, you could call that an age-appropriate answer, and perhaps it was. But we didn't answer Lindsay that way because we wanted to honor her natural curiosity with the honesty it deserved. We answered her that way because we were afraid. Afraid that we would be banished from future family gatherings if we said something equally age-appropriate, such as, "You know how your mom and dad love each other and have made a family with you in it? Well, we're a family like that too." Honesty is not divisive. Secrecy is divisive. Secrecy pushes everyone into their own dark corners of shame. Shame begets ignorance as well as violence against oneself and others. Roanoke County schools should be beacons of honesty about what it means to be human in a complex world. If your school policies aren't supporting parents, teachers, coaches, and counselors in the harrowing work of raising children who love themselves as they love their neighbors, then your policies are poison to everyone involved. I'm here today with a Rainbow Coalition to tell you we won't stand for it. Thank you.
Erica Joyner.
Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. Nicely, hello. My name is Erica Joyner. I am a concerned citizen, Roanoke resident, and transgender woman. I'm here to speak up for the rights of the Roanoke County school teachers who exercise free speech in the classroom and on campus. I'm also here to ask the Roanoke School Board members to keep an open mind and not be swayed by misguided attempts to prejudice their approach to school safety and inclusiveness when they set policy. The free speech of school teachers and staff is protected by the First and the 14th constitutional amendments and by the current model policies for the treatment of LGBTQ students in public elementary and secondary schools in Virginia. I ask that the county school board members adopt policies in support of those standards. These policies should include guidelines for school administrators and staff and teachers on the proper handling of parental concerns about sexual orientation and gender identity issues. These guidelines should intentionally limit the ability of one or a few parents to arbitrarily set policy by the intensity of their protesting. Any or all of these policies, these guidelines would go a long way toward promoting a more civilized and less divisive way of dealing with these complex and volatile issues. More directly, these policies would limit the devastating negative effect on young students who are simply trying to find their way in the world as complete human beings. Thank you.
Raven Weddle.
Hello, my name is Raven Weddle. I am 17 years old, and I am a queer transmasculine individual and an upcoming senior at Northside High School. I'm here today because I'm concerned about the comments made towards LGBTQ+ supporting staff at Glen Cove Elementary School, and in turn, the comments made about students. I have been in school in 7 different school districts. I was raised in Northern Virginia by 2 conservative-leaning parents. I attended church every Sunday, along with any and all events, and that didn't stop until I was 15 when I moved here to live with my father. I bring these points up to assure you that for most of my life, I did not see very many people who were like me. I remember questioning my sexuality as early as 4th grade, but I had no one to ask about it. Middle school was the first time I ever publicly heard anything about queerness, and that was in the form of a slur. You say that hanging rainbow flags in classrooms and teaching students about gender and sexuality is indoctrination. For 15 years of my life, I was forced into a mold that did not fit me. I was made to wear certain clothes and act certain ways. I begged to cut my hair for years, but wasn't allowed to because I would look like a boy. When I did finally cut my hair, it wasn't allowed to be too short. I wasn't allowed to wear baggy clothes, and I grew up having to debate whether or not transgender people were allowed to be the way that they are. And there was no difference for opinions. That is indoctrination. The process of teaching a person or group to accept a set of beliefs uncritically. There are complaints that these social topics shouldn't be talked about in school, but maybe that's exactly where they should be had. Maybe if we bothered to teach this in sexual education or at home in a safe place, it wouldn't seem so offensive and inappropriate when it comes up for the first time in your child's classroom. Additionally, when curious kids are scared and confused and have no one to ask questions to, do you know what they will turn to? The internet. And trust me, they will find more information than their teacher telling them that boys can be girls and girls can be boys. If these kids are queer, avoiding the topic is not going to change them. Even with being shielded from these things for so much of my life, I still am the way that I am. This is because regardless of how anyone feels about it, we will always exist. We are not products of our environment, and I feel that's something many people fail to realize. And as much as you wish and pray that people like me would just be normal, I promise you I have wished and I have prayed 10 times harder. Then I wouldn't have to be here telling you about how I and the little kid that I was deserved a safe space at school and to feel just as heard and understood as anyone else. I shouldn't have had to hide to be deserving of love and support. Supporting students is not indoctrination, but choosing to be ignorant and shielding children from learning about these very real topics is indoctrinating them to be normal, giving them no opportunity to be different from how you want them to be. Thank you.
Amy Webb.
Good evening. My name is Amy Webb. My family are residents of Roanoke County. My youngest son is a student at Cave Spring Elementary, and my oldest son is a former Roanoke County student whose educational needs are now being met elsewhere, which is a whole nother conversation. I can't speak as eloquently as all the people that have come before me, but I did want to show up tonight to lend my voice and my presence to a very important cause. And I also wanted to show up because my kids were excited about showing up and seeing what would happen when a group of people who cares about their community comes together to effect change. As a librarian, educator, and parent, it is deeply troubling to witness the willingness of this school board to embrace censorship and discrimination. Public schools, at their best, should allow all our children free access to an education that imparts not only basic educational skills, but also prepares them to be inquisitive, actively engaged citizens and inclusive human beings who can work together to build a better future. Embracing diversity is in the best interest of all of our children. Thank you.
Laura Bowman.
Laura Bowman, Windsor Hills District. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Nicely. I recently shared an idea with school system leaders on forming a committee focused on fostering safe, welcoming schools for all. It included a list of what constitutes safe and welcoming schools. It's a list I believe almost everyone would agree upon. I received some good feedback on the idea. It would be great to have a committee or council at each school. 2 students could start such a group. Please look at the school system's own Sea Change framework. It states, our CPS cultivates a physically, emotionally, and intellectually safe environment in which students experience a sense of belonging. Its schools are positive, welcoming communities. Leadership is team-oriented and visionary. Collaboration is a primary conduit for skill growth for students and adults. Recruitment and retention of a diverse workforce is valued to meet the unique needs of all students. How is the school system meeting its own expectations as outlined in its Sea Change framework, and how can it better do so? As a volunteer in about 15 different capacities in the school system and county over the past 13 years, I understand the importance of collaboration and communication. I know how essential it is to cultivate a positive school climate and culture where all people feel cared for and valued. It seems the politics of some have created barriers for many, dividing people who are better when they work together on behalf of kids and their educations. First, it was the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. Then it was the media selection policy. Now it's the controversial issues policy. There seems to be a pattern here, one that may be viewed as discriminatory. I'm sad to see so many caring, highly qualified, dedicated teachers leaving the profession. I'm troubled to see efforts to undermine the integrity of the neighborhood public schools 90% of parents send their kids to. I'm concerned to see policies and laws floated and enacted that are regressive, punitive, biased, and unrealistic. Right now, what we're witnessing is a lot of fear that a teacher or staff member says may put them at risk, fear that only certain parent and student voices are heard and valued, fear that students' individual needs may not be met. Locally, the school system's leaders can address those fears with positive actions that promote kindness, understanding, and care for all. You all have the wonderful opportunity to help promote good faith conversations on what safe and welcoming schools for all looks like. I really hope you'll take it. We have an exceptionally good public school system here. Please work together to keep it that way. Thank you.
Judy Flincham.
Hello, Dr. Nicely and the board. Thanks for hearing me. Mine won't be long. I'm a school nurse at one of our elementary schools here, and I wanted to just touch on the basis of our school nutrition. The reason I wanted to do that is that at my school, I came here in November of 21. I took care of 3 type 1 diabetics. This past year, I took care of 4. I'll still have 4 next year, even though I'm losing 1 to the middle school. I'm picking up a kindergartner that's coming in. One of my students buys her lunch at school almost exclusively, and there is nothing on the menu that is low carb. Just to give you an idea, she picked her lunch one day this week of a chicken sandwich, baked beans, juice, and a chocolate milk. That was 112 carbs. Way too much for her to have. Now, I know it's too late to do anything, for the upcoming school year, I'm sure, but I'm just hoping that you all will maybe look at this for upcoming years to see if you all can maybe offer at least 1 low-carb item a day for these diabetic students. As you all know, type 1 diabetic, it is nothing the student did to get that. It is simply something wrong in their body, is not creating insulin as it should. And we need to just do what we can, I believe, to help them stay as healthy as they can, because high blood sugars lead to kidney failure, kidney disease. There's even been type 1 diabetics that have ended up having to have, a kidney replacement because their kidneys shut down. There's also a lot of type 1 diabetics throughout the schools as well, and I'm one, and I know I did that to myself, but again, the type 1s, they have no control over it. So I just hope you all will take that into consideration maybe going forward when you're looking at school nutrition. I mean, we do accommodate the gluten-free kids, we accommodate the lactose intolerant kids, but we don't take into account our type 1 diabetics. Thank you.
Ms. Funkin, thank you for your service as a nurse, and if you would be kind enough to reach out to me by email, so we can further this discussion.
Okay.
I'll be very interested in getting involved in that.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Tiffany Sandifer.
Good evening. I'm Tiffany Sandifer. I'm a product of Roanoke County Public Schools and a parent of children who have grown up in RCPS. My youngest child will be a sophomore at Northside next year. When I attended RCPS, gay was a taboo thing that people got relentlessly bullied for. As a bisexual woman who was raised in the church and this school district, and who has been repeatedly sexually assaulted by white, cishet, Christian, married men, I developed codependency and a weird internalized homophobia that has basically ruined my entire adult life. Especially because I had no examples in my life of publicly seeing successful adults or even people to support folks like me among my peers. I'm here to speak on behalf of the kids that you're putting through this nonsense 25 years later. As a parent of a child who attends RCPS, I have been grateful for affirming teachers. It's because of affirming teachers that my child is alive today. When she questioned her gender in 4th through 6th grades, the affirmation she got from her school, at least some of her school, at my instruction and request was vital. Of course, we consented to no medical interventions. She was a preteen, but we did allow her to socially transition. For two years, she lived as a different name and pronouns, wore a binder, cut hair, explored different interests, and we supported her through it. We loved every version of her that she showed us. During that time, she stopped self-harming and her suicidal ideation diminished. Eventually, she realized she isn't trans, and her detransition involved nothing but telling everyone what name and pronouns to use. It wasn't a big deal because no one made it a big deal. She figured out who she was, and we loved whoever that turned out to be. It's the simplest thing in the world. I offer my experience because I see lots of misinformation about what happens in families like mine, and I refuse to accept the slander on our community that the board seems more than willing to encourage. Let me be clear. RCPS does not knowingly employ sexual predators or groomers. No member of this community or this board can credibly claim that they do. You should have immediately condemned those remarks. You didn't, and we noticed. Why am I here saying this to you when you couldn't spare a breath to defend our district? Why does the community literally have to rally for you to do the bare minimum of your jobs? I don't believe that any of our words will make a difference to you. And because of that, I support efforts to recall this board and hold special elections to replace every single one of you. In absence of that,
Ms.
I
Sandifer, you're
will
at
work
3 minutes and 10
tirelessly
seconds.
for any opponent that runs against you. You'll be removed from public life, God willing.
Keely Meadows.
Hello, I'm here once again, and I'm sure you all know me very well, so there's no need to explain myself. I should be at the skating rink with my friends or at the pool with my family, but instead I'm here. As a Roanoke County resident and student, I believe it's important that my voice is respected and heard in this district. As a lot of you know, I've been fighting for the rights of disabled students in this district for years. It took me 2 years to get an IEP throughout middle school, after having illness-related absences and sensory overload held against me. Instead of giving me that psychological help that I needed, I was suspended over and over and over again. 7 or 8 mental health-related suspensions. In that exact same year, I attempted suicide. I had been blown off by the principals and administrators for months, including a physical assault that I reported to a mandated reporter and counselor at William Byrd Middle School, and it got blown off as girl drama. The school and administrators didn't care about the 40 Tylenol pills I took. They cared about my math work. If you care about my safety, I'd ask you to listen to your students. Get licensed professionals to listen to your students. Allow psychologists, mentors, and therapists into our schools. If at any point I had been evaluated by a licensed mental health professional, I would have gotten the help that was kept from me for years. I've begged this board and administration to listen to people like me, but you refuse to even bat an eye. If you don't want to listen, I will make myself heard. I will continue to fight until LGBTQ+ students can be themselves. I will continue to fight until I can feel supported in my school. I will continue to fight until you listen. Listen to the real safety problems in this county, because expressing support for LGBTQ+ students isn't the problem. Gun violence is the problem. Students assaulting other students is the problem. Bullying is the problem. Suicide is the problem. If you truly cared about my safety, you would have reported my assault and stopped it from happening again. Thank you.
Alicia Downey.
Hi there. I'm back to speak again. First, I'm going to take a moment to say thanks for listening to me last time, because I asked for bereavement leave, and I'm hoping that you're still considering that so that you can treat teachers like human beings. And speaking of that, I fortunately had to leave the last board meeting, so I wasn't here for the horrid display that everyone saw. I watched it later, and I'm utterly disappointed because none of you guys who have all of your things to say at the end, none of you said anything about those 4 school members who were publicly accused of being criminals, and not just, murderers or whatever. We're talking about like some serious accusations that were hurled out of the mouths of people that you guys are tagged with on Facebook and all the things that you guys do in your personal life. So I'm disappointed as a teacher, because I'm speaking as a teacher right now in this district. I'm disappointed that a public citizen can hurl an accusation at one of your employees, and none of you stood up, and none of you said that those things are false. None of you supported your teachers. We are losing people going to other districts because they're going to get paid more, and they're going to get supported, and they're going to have other things like a diversity and equity and inclusion person that's going to speak to other things that you guys don't understand, which is also what I've been asking for us to consider having that position back in Roanoke County, because there are things that you clearly do not understand, because we all don't understand everything and everyone. We're losing people And as a parent, I have a kid in this district, and we're losing good teachers because they're going to make more money in Roanoke City. And here, you can make less money, and no one's going to stand up for you being called a sexual abuser, predator, or groomer because you wear a rainbow lanyard or because you love children and not in a creepy way. This is unacceptable. And I am just so disappointed as a teacher and as a parent that this can continue. I sent you all an email, and I would love to discuss how you could stand up and support teachers, not just students. Not just students are important, but having a safe and welcoming place for teachers and every staff member as well. I didn't get a response. And I'm sad about that. And I don't care that I sent a group email. I would expect at least a response that said, hey, thanks so much. Love to talk about how this is unacceptable that we allow our employees to be insulted and called criminal names. And also, you guys make lots of comments at the end about like golf games and things like that, but you never stood up for the teachers. And that breaks my heart.
Muhammad, I don't want to mess up the last name. Can you pronounce that for me, sir? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mohammed El-Shawarbi, and I am the board president of the Roanoke Diversity Center, the region's LGBTQ plus community center that serves Southwest Virginia and includes Roanoke County. I'm here today because of the disturbing actions that the county schools are potentially taking against rainbow and pride imagery, which to my understanding is not against school code. And I am here to ask this board to make sure that these symbols are protected and not banned. These symbols represent love, diversity, acceptance, tolerance, and visibility. I'm also here to speak to the children that will be affected by this. The reality is that we are who we are. If there is a child that is straight or cisgender, which means that their sex and gender identity align, nothing will change that. No matter how many rainbows they see, no matter how many same-sex couples they see, no matter how many gays, trans, or non-binary people they interact with. And the same thing for LGBTQ plus students. They are who they are, and they will be who they are. The difference is whether those kids will be supported and protected or not. These symbols, lanyards, clothing, whatever it is, lets those kids know that they have a safe space in their school. It lets them know that they have a safe person to talk to in their teachers and counselors, which is 100% part of the job of the counselors and teachers. The only side effect of this on kids who are straight is that it exposes them to different people and different thoughts. And the only outcome is that they become more understanding and more accepting, which hopefully is something that this board strives for. But what it means to LGBTQ plus children could be life-saving, as you've heard from many people here. Many of those kids, sadly, not only get bullied by their peers, but a lot of times their very first bully in their life is their own parent, guardian, or somebody that should love them. We are lucky to be in a time where more acceptance from parents is there. However, the numbers don't lie. The number of children that have suicidal ideation and who experience homelessness is highest among LGBTQ plus children or kids in general. And the reasons have been studied many times over and always comes through their unaccepting environments, peers, and family. So for a child who could be experiencing these pressures to then have their school and teachers not be a safe place for them, that is a real disservice to that child. Because we all know that means when these symbols are called divisive and political, we know what that means, which they are neither. So I would like the board to keep in mind what the message you are sending those children is when you are thinking and talking about these subjects. And as a Muslim and a person of faith myself who is also gay, my faith tells me to always work to protect the most vulnerable. And by all measures, studies, and numbers, LGBTQ plus kids are some of the most vulnerable in our society. Thank you very much.
Suzanne, I believe it's Thornley.
see. Hold on just a second. I'm Suzanne Thornley, and I am a resident of South County and a retired clinical social worker. I'm here speaking on the behalf of Trish White Boyd, who could not be here tonight. And these are her words. Good evening, school board members. I'm writing today in regard to recent events that have transpired in Roanoke County schools. As a potential state senator for the Cave Spring and areas, I want to stand in solidarity with our diverse families and students and educators. Public education is a space where all children should feel safe and seen. Removing all signs of LGBTQ plus pride acceptance from school spaces marginalizes not only students who are developing and learning, but who they are, but also students who have diverse family structures. It seems by the actions of the school board and sub-administration that LGBTQ families, students, and educators are being discriminated against in schools. Further, it seems that the school board and school leaders have deemed that LGBTQ families, students, and educators are amoral or unworthy of the same acceptance of all other students, families, and educators. Actions that send this message need to be rectified in Roanoke County. The United States federal government recognizes LGBTQ plus civil rights, and our state systems and local schools need to reflect what our Supreme Court has justified as lawful and equal. For the sake of providing fair education for all students, please allow students, families, and educators to remain true to their identities and not be shamed in our public spaces. I'll end with a quote from the education scholar Bell Hooks. If we give our children sound self-love, they will be able to deal with whatever life puts before them. Thank you very much for your time.
Laura Blades.
Thank you. I'll start with a story. When my son was starting second grade, we went shoe shopping, and he picked out the most beautiful pair of rainbow sneakers. He's always loved rainbows and bright colors, and no, to my knowledge, he's not gay, but if he was, I would continue to love him unconditionally. We had a long talk in the store about how kids would almost certainly make fun of him for his feminine shoe choice, but he told me they were the best shoes ever. So I bought them, and as predicted, kids made fun of his shoes for most of second grade. Some parents worry about having to tell their 8-year-old why a kid has 2 moms. I had to explain to my 8-year-old that kids can be cruel for absolutely no reason. Believe me, I would choose the 2-mom conversation every time. I have 3 kids who currently attend Roanoke County Public Schools, and all of them went to Glen Cove, my youngest very recently. I volunteered at Glen Cove for multiple years while my kids attended, and I have been nothing but impressed with and grateful for the level of compassion and love that the faculty and staff expressed to the many children who attend there. I watched last month's school board meeting, listened as the Glen Cove faculty and staff, people who I care about and completely trust with my children, people who admired my son's beautiful shoes, were accused of indoctrination, grooming, and most outrageous, sexually predatory behavior. Why? Because at the heart of it, these accusers are afraid that their children might be convinced that being gay or trans is okay because they colored a pride flag or saw a teacher wearing a rainbow lanyard. Afraid that the school's sign, "Everyone welcome," might actually mean everyone welcome. Pretending gay and trans people don't exist is not a good solution. At best, this denial means we lose out on fostering deeper connections within our community. At worst, it means bullying and violence towards a small group that is already the disproportionate victim of violence. The fact is, members of the LGBTQIA community exist right here and now. They are a part of our community. People are entitled to their opinions, but that doesn't change the fact that the inhabitants of North Roanoke County are from all different walks of life, different races and religions, different sexual orientations and gender identities. Our community is diverse and colorful, just like the rainbows that are currently being vilified. I am certain that not a single member of the faculty and staff at Glen Cove is trying to force your children to be part of the LGBTQIA community. And I can guarantee they are not discriminating against your straight kids. They offer the same compassion to all children. It costs nothing to let people live their authentic lives in peace. People are even welcome to live their lives in fear and bigotry if they choose, but those people cannot expect teachers to stop being supportive and kind to all students. The bottom line is Roanoke County has lost some incredible educators as a result of this situation, and we are all poorer as a result.
Brandon Lewis. All right. Rachel Worster.
Members of the board and Dr. Nicely, my name is Rachel Worster, and I am a teacher in Roanoke County. As an educator, it is incredibly frustrating and frightening to see board members allowing members of the public to make accusations against teachers, staff, and even worse, students. Public school is for everyone, not just students who look like you or who practice religion like you or who share the same political beliefs as you. It is your job to serve all children and to protect all staff from spurious accusations. In addition, it is the duty for leaders at central office, including the superintendent, to defend the rights and privacy of all students and staff. My mother was a teacher, and in the 80s, she had a student who was not accepted at home. He came to her art class as a way to express himself and serve for a safe place with an adult who accepted him. To this day, 40 years later, he sends her a Christmas card every year and takes her out to lunch when he is passing through. She made a huge impact on his life just by showing kindness and acceptance. And it's stories like these that make people want to be teachers. We want to be there for kids. We want to support them. We want them to write us 40 years later. We don't want to be forced to pretend they don't exist or that we don't see them. Having an accepting teacher who acknowledges that families might look and believe differently from each other isn't disruptive. What is disruptive is seeing adults accuse kids and teachers of serious crimes with no real proof. What is disruptive is the board and central office allowing this behavior to occur and in no way publicly supporting the students and staff members involved. What is disruptive is the many teachers who are leaving this district for better opportunities elsewhere. 6 of 12 members of my English department are not returning next year. I myself am moving to another district where I will make $5,000 more and will pay significantly less for health insurance. In that job interview, they touted their GSA, their African American Culture Club. They talked about how they were encouraging diverse literature to match the real students they had in their school. And that was shockingly refreshing and made my decision incredibly easy. This year, the county hired provisional teachers in all departments for the first time. What will you do next year? What will happen to our SOL scores as you continue to hire new teachers who are underqualified and unprepared? It's time to focus on the real issues: teacher pay, retention, an increase in student support in the face of increased mental health issues, and as a result, increased discipline issues in our schools. Eliminating positions aimed at diversity and inclusion and trying to pass policies that prevent teachers from showing their acceptance of a variety of families is wrong and hurts kids in the long run. It also tarnishes the reputation of Roanoke County schools. We need to support all students and provide a supportive environment for everyone, not just the students and families who share the same beliefs as the school board. Thank you for your time.
Mark, and the last name starts with a K, but I cannot read what that says.
Hello, Dr. Nicely, members of the board, chair. My name is Mark Kinker. I forgive you. I have deplorable handwriting. So I'm here to speak in regard to, like many of us who are here to speak tonight, the public comment session of last month's meeting. I am a first-year teacher here in the county. I teach at Cave Spring Middle School and Cave Spring High School. And even it being my first year, I know that if such behavior were to happen in my classroom, right, if a student were to specifically target another student, right, in a way that we have classified correctly tonight as bullying, right, that is my job to step in, right, in that instance and, put an end to it, right? And I you guys fulfill the same role here, right, in this forum as moderators of this forum. And, right, again, me knowing that in my first year as a teacher, right, that it is my job to step in, right, to prevent such actions, right, I know that when you choose not to, right, and more specifically, choose not to act, right, and choose to ignore, right, any breach of conduct, right, or student code policy, right, any kind of bullying, right, then you're telling the students that you're agreeing with that person, right, by not acting, by letting them carry on, right, and bully and behave in the way that they are behaving. And so with your inaction, right, that states the same thing, that you are agreeing with that person, right? And the students see that, right? Your employees see that. And I just hope you will consider that in the future. Thank you.
Item 9.01, report by Roanoke County School Superintendent. Superintendent Nicely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to extend congratulations to our spring sports teams that won state championships in recent weeks. Glenver High School boys tennis team, state champions in boys tennis. Northside High School softball also won a state championship. And Glenver High School boys soccer also brought a state championship. So we'll bring those students in when they come back for school to be recognized. Also want to congratulate our own Chuck Lineberger for bringing home several Virginia Public Relations Awards, including Best in Show for the Commonwealth Awards. We appreciate all the hard work that Mr. Lineberger does. This is an item that's hot off the press as we just received notice this afternoon during the State Board of Education meeting. Two of our schools were honored with Continuous Improvement Awards and were two of only 106 schools of Virginia to win that award. And those were Northside Middle School and Cundiff Elementary Schools. Nice. Two of our schools also won the highest achievement awards, and there were two of only 48 schools in Virginia to win this award, and that's Hidden Valley High School and Glenver High School. Roanoke County Schools was also one of only 8 school divisions in Virginia to be recognized with a 2023 Innovative Practice Exemplar Award. RCPS actually was the only division to win 2 Innovative Practice Exemplar Awards this year, one for our innovative systems approach to produce successful student outcomes for our RCPS Student Sea Change Framework, and one for our Student Registered Apprenticeship Program. So we're very proud of those awards, and we'll be hearing more about those. Finally, I do want to briefly address the topic about which we've heard many comments from citizens this evening. There have been certainly lots of sincere positions and concerns expressed, and we want to listen to those concerns. This expression of citizenship is what we try to teach our students and model for them. Do your research, develop your thoughts, and communicate your position in a passionate but respectful manner. Reasonable people can disagree, and debate about matters of public concern can be done without the need for hyperbole, misrepresenting facts, or being disrespectful. We're immensely proud of our over 1,200 teachers that work hard to teach our students, welcome them, support them, and respect them, and to teach them to love to read, write, investigate scientific principles, perform in the arts, innovate, and problem solve, along with teaching and modeling the principles of character count, such as responsibility, respect, fairness, citizenship, trustworthy, and kindness. We want to affirm that Roanoke County Public Schools' focus is on our students and their learning and well-being. Our schools must continue to be safe and caring places for all students where they can learn free of disruptions and distractions. We support and commend the efforts of our teachers and principals to provide a caring and respectful environment focused on learning for all students. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Item 10.01, reports and inquiries of board members. Mr. Linden, would you like to go first?
Yes, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Too would like to congratulate Chuck Lineberger on his Virginia Public Relations Award that he received over in Richmond. Chuck, there is nobody better in the state, I'm convinced, than the job you do for us. So thank you very much. Excited to get the one unsolicited proposal for our new CTE center in 2 elementary schools, which came in. Be able to move those 2 projects forward. Want to thank our superintendent, his leadership retreat last week, over 2 weeks ago, maybe now, over at the Vinton War Memorial, full steam ahead. It was very productive and inspirational with our teachers and administrators, and would have loved to have had some good news coverage on that event. And then just want to thank congratulate Coach Cassie Brammer on Northside State Championship last week in softball.
You know she's a Vinton product.
She is a Vinton product. Sure. I could tell she was a player back in the day, too.
She was good.
So, that's all, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Mr. Ray?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A little short on softball and baseball, but they did get to go to the semifinals, and very proud of that. I have been trying to visit some of my schools even after before the teachers were there and students were there, and then I try to get around in the summer. And we do have some of our schools that have summer schools, and showed up at Clearbrook the first day, and they had about 32 students in the summer schools, and I was able to go to the classrooms and see the excitement with the kids. Some of them starting out with engineering of making a back scratcher, and there were so many different articles that they were using to put it together, and you'd see really the creativity of the students was amazing, what they were doing with those. And I certainly thank everyone. This is a democracy. Everyone can come and speak, and that's what, if we lose sight of that, then, we don't have a democracy. So, I want to thank everyone for coming and expressing their views, and we certainly, that's what it's about. So, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Mr. Greenway.
Yes, thank you. Along with David, I'd like to thank Chuck for all of his accolades and what he does for our school division and keeping everybody informed. And it's probably a full-time and a half position, but he does it well, and we certainly appreciate him. The nutritionist that was here tonight, I echo your sentiments, Mr. Hudson, that I would like to know if there's something we can do to help with the type 1 diabetes folks, or maybe there's even a bigger discussion that needs to be had. So thank you for being here, and thank you for the comments. Thank you for the accolades for Cundiff too. Imagine what we can do if we have walls. That'll be interesting once we have the opportunity to rebuild our elementary schools. Again, Mr. Ray, well done. Thank you for being here. That's what a democracy is, and we appreciate your comments, and we hear them. And I think Dr. Nicely stated the position of Roanoke County School Board very well, and I appreciate the position that he takes and the way that he runs our school division, and the staff survey and so forth. That's critical that we get that input, and it's a good. We have teachers second to none, so we thank them for everything. We do this every meeting. We say that very same thing. So we thank you for everything you do, and with that I'll yield. Thank you.
All right, I will start out by congratulating our.
Actually, speak louder.
I would actually, hold on a second. Nope, we're not, it's not time for public discussion now. You are going to allow us the same respect that we have allowed you for the last 2 hours. You're free to leave. I'm going to start out by congratulating Glenver High School soccer, outdoor track, and boys tennis, all state champions. I cannot say enough about how proud I am for our Highlanders. We have also girls double state tennis, second straight title for Avery Flynn and Isabella Gustafson. We have Northside High School and their girls softball winning state championship. We also have.
All 4 of you are cowards.
Actually, speak louder.
Parents' rights. I would also like to congratulate Simone Hambler. Northside High School won VHSL Class 3 state title in 200-meter dash and 400-meter run. That's her 3rd state title this year. Glenver High School girls 4x100 relay team won the VHSL Class 2 state title. Ryan Harris, Sydney Loader, Brooklyn Woolwine, and Mayor Swanson. And Sydney Loader took the VHSL Class 2 state title for hurdles. I think it's very important that we name all of these out. These are incredible athletes in our schools. I'd like to also echo the comments about the unsolicited proposal. It's been a long, hard road getting these 3 projects together. I'd like to thank Mr. Kegels, Mr. Nice, or Dr. Nicely, and everybody that's been involved in that. I know that's been tremendous on your staff. Todd, I know that you have really put a lot of time and effort and sweat into this, and we're here. We finally made it, and I'm very excited to get started as soon as possible on that. Hopefully we'll get some more proposals and we'll be able to get some great things done. And I'll echo the comments that Dr. Nicely elegantly wrote. And with that, meeting adjourned.